to the Inside Connection podcast powered by MediConnect Insurance. My name is Sean Horn. I am joined by my good friend, Chief Executive Officer of MediConnect, Lance O'Brien. Lance, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great up until that introduction.
A little pressure, right?
A little weight, yeah.
I totally understand. Well, you know, we had a great initial episode where we kind of broke down what MediConnect is, and of course, we may, be plugging into a whole new set of audience today. So we're going to do a quick little reintroduction and also break down why we do what we do. So, I guess let's begin the entire episode today with talking about why is MediConnect even in existence? Why are we here? What is it that we do well?
Yeah, and I think it's actually real important. I mean, one of my statements, right? Vision leaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hear something, it invigorates you, and then it has the tendency to just kind of go away. So, like in these first few episodes, we really want people to understand what we do as the top-rated advisory firm in the state of Pennsylvania, Commonwealth, whatever word you want to put around it, right? And again, that's not us. That's the community. That's the clients. That's people speaking that have trusted us, really, right, to help them with their Medicare journey. So what we do is we really focus on education, right?
Correct.
Helping people understand how Medicare works in simplistic terms, like Medicare Made Simple, right? But then also the relationship that goes along with it, because Medicare is not a, hey, I got to make one decision or it's a big decision and then I move on, sail off, right? No, there's ongoing decisions with Medicare. So we really believe in the client experience, right? From the first time they reach out to us, whether it's a seminar, whether it's a phone call, whatever, all the way through the education to getting them on a plan to annual review. It's that client experience of education and relationship.
And I get to do the best part, which is basically break down the fact that we do all this for free.
Yeah, can't beat free, right?
No cost whatsoever. And, to lay that out for the layperson is, we get paid by the insurance company to enroll somebody onto the Medicare plan of their choosing, right?
Yes.
And the beauty in how we're able to operate is that, we work in a completely unbiased fashion. We have no loyalty to any insurance company whatsoever. Our loyalty remains on the side of the clientele. And the reason we're so passionate about that, I
I
would
love
say,
that too, right?
yeah, I mean, this is a very, very confusing process for many. We've been in many different homes throughout our years of working here at MediConnect where the kitchen table was stacked with paperwork this high.
Right.
And for those listening and not watching right now, it's a pretty big stack of paperwork that a lot of people get in the mail and the phone calls and the emails. And, you once you become 64 years old, as you always say, you're never more important in your life. Phone rings, the mail comes because everybody understands you're now on the Medicare radar.
Yeah.
And to take such a complex subject, break it down, and as you like to say, put all that information on the cookies on the lowest shelf so everyone can dig in, and be there year after year. And again, completely for free. That's what gets us out of bed every single day and puts our head on our pillow at night, knowing that we're doing a fantastic job here in the community.
Yeah, and I think it runs counter-cultural, if you will, to what people expect, right? They're always shopping with whatever type of insurance is, right? Whether it's property and casualty, health insurance, whatever, life insurance, they're shopping for the best price for the best coverage, right? They're really trying to find that middle ground. But one of the fears is always out there is, well, it's sales, so if they get me to spend more, then they make more. And I'm just so thankful that the way that it's set up, we don't really even have to worry about that. We're just as happy selling a zero premium plan as we are a $140 Medicare Advantage plan, right? Or Medigap plan, Medicare supplement. It really comes down to what's the best fit for the consumer. And working with all the major carriers, it really takes a lot of pressure off for us and for the individual. It's great.
And I want to dig into that a little bit more because the compensation that comes from the insurance company, that is regulated by Medicare.
Yep.
And the beauty of that, and I mean, we're talking about working with the federal government, which is not always easy, and a lot of people probably thumb their nose at, which I totally understand. But when it comes to having that type of oversight on such a big program, the beauty of that is the fact that the compensation is completely standardized, meaning that whether you look at one insurance company versus another, whatever that commissionable dollar that is released by the government, it's going to be the same no matter what, as well as Whether you call MediConnect or you work with the insurance company directly, it's again the same dollar amount that is released by the government. And why that is so big is because obviously when you call the insurance company directly, you can only learn about their plans.
Right.
How are we different?
Yeah, so again, basically if there's 70 plans, which is possible in a particular county with like a Medicare Advantage plan, if you call a carrier, you're going to get a sliver, if you will, a small piece of the overall pie, right? It might be a good plan, but is it still the best plan for you? Where with us being licensed and certified and go through all the testing and everything that's required to actually represent these plans, we work with all the major carriers, right? So for us at the end of the day, the name on the card is really irrelevant and the consumer wins, right? Because they don't have to, one, go out and do all the homework. Two, they're not going to get pigeonholed just because necessarily they had a certain carrier or coverage throughout their working years. That doesn't necessarily translate to Medicare, right? So it really opens up a whole wide world for them, but they don't have, and I think this is important, they could do the work if they'd want to,
Yeah,
right? Although we normally see people make mistakes when they do that, but they get someone to do all the work for them, really minimize the options after they've done all the research, and it doesn't cost them anything. I mean, it's really a win-win.
truly is. So here we are looking at the beginning of the year, the first quarter of 2023. We just came out of our busiest time of the year, that being the Medicare annual enrollment period, which is usually the fourth quarter of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're into, again, the beginning parts of 2023. So why are we even tracking Medicare information at this point? Because again, most of the time when people are engaging with their Medicare decisions is usually when they're first getting onto Medicare or during that annual enrollment period where anybody who's on Medicare can make a decision. So why are we talking about it right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of similarities between group health coverage, right, and moving to Medicare, but there's some things that are definitely different. Like when you're in the group space, you have one enrollment period every year, right? And
Yep.
for most people, unless they change jobs or whatever, it is what it is, right? Where in Medicare, there's actually five, if you count the general election, if somebody misses their enrollment period, there's five different time frames or types of enrollment periods.
Which, just like Medicare plans in general, it's too much.
It is too much because it's like, we'll hear people say, well, I was told I have to do this at this point in time. And generally, there's not a lot of hard and fast. It's based on the individual situation. So right now, we're in the open enrollment period, which is a whole different enrollment period for people who are already on Medicare, right? That have an opportunity, if they have Medicare Advantage, to look at other options. Maybe their health changed the first couple of months of the year, right? Maybe they didn't review their coverage in the fall and there was a change. But there's also initial enrollment enrollment period for people that are new to Medicare. There's special enrollment period. There's just so many nuanced rules to when people can and should make decisions. So we help people walk through that, right?
And I think the one we're really seeing a lot more than most as far as what decision is leading for people to call us now and engage with MediConnect to get that overview that they deserve.
Yeah.
And again, completely for free is, I was on a medication that was covered much better by my plan in 2022 than what it's looking like already in 2023. And a lot of people don't understand that one of the nuances of Medicare that does change quite often year to year, especially when you're not paying attention to it, is your prescription drug coverage.
Yeah. I mean, prescriptions, they drive the boat. I mean, because again, a lot of the plans, there's some differences in the copay structures and stuff, but there's pretty similar alignment at this point in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say if we had to pick three things that make up plans: benefits, networks, and prescriptions, the benefits, there's the most alignment, right? Then you've got differences in the networks, but it's
Mm-hmm.
really the prescription coverage that can change where someone goes with their healthcare.
And as we talked about just a moment ago, I mean, Medicare is truly as individualized as your fingerprint. You're going to be on a different set of medications, see a different set of doctors than probably your neighbor or your friend who's probably recommending their plan because they're so happy with it, which we're happy that they're happy. But it's not a one size fits all type of
No.
environment when it comes to Medicare. So, want to talk a little bit about the size and scope of Medicare once again. I know we hit on it in the last episode, but I do want to talk about it again. We're almost 11,000 people per day are turning 65 years of age in this country.
Yeah, a ton of people, baby boomers built our country. Shout out to all them for all the hard work. getting ready to wind down the working years.
For sure.
Second largest line item in the federal budget, right? So there's a lot of money being poured into the program. I know we're going to talk a little bit later about misuse in the program, which can actually skyrocket costs
Yep.
and things like that. But again, it's just really, really important for us to be able to create for people as there's more options because there's more people, right? Really streamlining it for them where they don't get lost in a sea of people, if you will.
I mean, we're talking 64 million people in this country alone are on Medicare. And,
Yeah.
Here in Southwest Pennsylvania is one of the hotbeds of activity when it comes to Medicare insurance because we tend to be a little bit of an older demographic here. People are deeply rooted into our community, which we love. I mean, I talk all the time about my parents. God love them. They live in the south side of Pittsburgh. The house I grew up in, they're still there. All these bridges along the river, and yet when they go across a bridge, they think they're going on vacation.
Yeah.
That's how deeply rooted they are. And
Yeah.
I talk about this all the time where knowing what I know, my parents have been on a different Medicare Advantage plan every single year since they got on to Medicare.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't our audience try to take advantage of the similar type of information that's right here and accessible to them?
Yeah, you said earlier that our loyalty is with the customer,
For sure.
and I absolutely believe that the loyalty of the customer should be to themselves.
Yep.
Right? We always believe in it being their decision. Right? We're not pressure. We're none of those things. But their loyalty shouldn't be to an insurance company. Right? It should be to their life as their needs are changing, and if there are opportunities out there that can benefit them even for a 12-month period of time, they should take advantage of it, right? And they can move as it fits their situation the best.
And that is truly the aim of our show. You talked about it in the opening, and I want to circle back on that, where we want to put the knowledge and the power back in the hands of the consumer.
Absolutely.
We've had a radio show here for the last 5-6 years that's been on live every single weekend on one of the popular radio stations around here, and we've developed quite a following from that to help people navigate these treacherous waters pretty evenly and easily. So to take this environment here and try to replicate that and put the information again within grasp in a very simplistic manner so that they can make confident decisions related to their healthcare. I mean, that's really the critical element of what we try to accomplish. And we engage through seminars, we have webinars, we're in the community all the time, we're obviously radio now, doing TV a little bit. We're out there trying to make this information as easy to digest as possible. So again, the consumer is driving the market, not the insurance company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, society's changing rapidly, right? Like it used to be the dissemination of this information was you come to my house, and we still do a lot of that actually, right? But we have a lot of people come to our office. We found a ton of traction via radio, podcast, seminars, large group gatherings of information, even diving into community centers, working in food pantries.
Yep.
Again, there's just such a desire. I mean, again, it's not like Medicare is exciting to talk about, but it's something necessary to talk about, right? So people are demanding information, and we're looking for every vehicle we possibly can to get that to them.
Which is why if you have those Medicare questions, we want you to engage. Our service is free. We're the top-rated experts in Pennsylvania. 888-818-6334 or go to MediConnectInsurance.com.
Absolutely. And Facebook?
MediConnect PGH. A lot of great information there. We'll be right back with a little bit more information after these words.
Medicare is confusing and a little scary.
Plan B, Part B,
HMO, PPO. I feel lost.
Whether you're just starting Medicare or currently on Medicare, you're faced with critical decisions each year. Questions like, do I need a Medicare plan? Is my current coverage still my best option? Will I still be able to see my doctors? I'm Brian Breisinger with MediConnect, the area's premier independent healthcare advisory firm. We can help avoid costly pitfalls today and in the future. We can meet with you in person or over the phone. Choose an expert in your community.
MediConnect walked us through everything.
Best of all, it didn't cost us anything.
That's right. Our licensed experts can offer unbiased advice on all of your healthcare options at no cost to you.
MediConnect is a great organization.
MediConnect, bridging the healthcare gap. For no-cost advice, Call 888-818-MEDI or go to MediConnectInsurance.com.
Well, welcome back to the Inside Connection podcast, powered by MediConnect. I am Lance O'Brien, joined alongside the mastermind of this program, right, as our brand marketing specialist, really trying to help us get the word out, right, because it's super important, right? People have questions. We like to think that we have answers. We're confident that we're going to get the information to them that they need. And we've been doing this a long time, both of us, right? And we started as agents. We've worked in different facets of Medicare. And I know over the course of time, we've both gotten quite a few referrals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I can tell you for sure is when I got a referral, the person didn't say, man, you're really smart. Right. Like nobody that I met with, nobody I met with said, man, I was referred to you because you were really smart. Not a single person. But you know what I heard all the time? They referred you to me because you made this so simple for them. You made it easy. It was turnkey, right? And that's really what we thrive on, because for a lot of people, Medicare is a foreign language, right? And we like to take that and just be the translator, if you will. Break through all the rules, break through all the legalese, break
Mm-hmm.
through all the different terms, and just make it simple. And again, that's when I really believe that you understand something, right? Not when you can talk intelligently about it, but when you can talk simply about it.
Yeah, Lance. I mean, I've been active in Medicare for about 12 years now, and helped thousands of people through this process, obviously. And a few months back, for whatever reason, I decided to open up the booklet that everybody gets when they get onto Medicare, and every single year thereafter, which is the 140, 150 page Medicare and You booklet. And I made it through about 10 pages before I had a splitting headache myself. And then I put it down on a consumer level of what this must be like for the people who've never had to engage in this before. And, you know, one thing I'm pretty confident in the fact is, I've watched the YouTube videos of other people who talk about Medicare and the whiteboard where they do all the number scribbling and everything, and they're real boring and monotone. And, we are not going to be that. That is our promise to you, to make sure that, yes, Medicare is boring and we know this.
Yeah.
We're going to make it as engaging, as informative, and we're also not going to talk the jargon.
Yeah.
That's big. I mean, we could talk deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance, all these. They're all numbers that mean more money coming out of your pocket. What we're going to do is make it so that you're paying as little as possible for insurance that is going to be very comprehensive, so that you're confident in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm smiling because as you were talking, I was thinking back to my days as a pastor, right? And you know, um, I used to have a term called Christianese, which
Okay.
is where we use terms that only Christians or people of faith would actually understand, right? So you talk that way and think everybody's going to know what's going on, and they just don't, and that's what we really try to take the Medicareese, if you will, out of the process. And simple, layman's, everyday terms, that makes sense. Help me, sign me up. Let's make this happen. Awesome. Moving forward, right?
And take care of me every year from here on out, right?
Yes.
During your working years, I think we talked about this a little bit in our last episode. During your working years, you have this HR department. They roll out a couple of different options for you. Here's your premium deductible, what you pay when you go to use it. And you basically say, you look at it, okay, I think I can afford that one. Let's just hope I don't have to use it this year, right? Medicare's a whole different ballgame. You don't have an HR department typically to lean on, because much like us with group insurance, we don't know it all that well.
Right.
We know the ins and outs of it enough to be dangerous, but we're not experts with it. Much the same way with typically the benefit coordinators at your jobs typically don't know Medicare as well as we do.
Right.
So oftentimes we're engaging with different companies and organizations and financial planners and firms and CPAs and you name it. When their clientele or the people living at these residences that we go to, when they have questions with their Medicare, they just go, call MediConnect. They'll be able to get it all together for you. And to be able to take that off of somebody's plate feels so good at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's not often that you can, get a job where you can help people. It's fun and enjoyable. I mean, and you make a living. I mean, it's great to be able to help people. And so there's already been this year a lot of changes,
Yeah.
right? We're seeing things kind of moving at a rapid pace. So what are we tracking right now? Like, what do we want people to know? And again, I think it's been very important for us over these first couple podcasts to explain who we are and what we do, right? I think we want to start diving more now into how we can really assist them. So what are we tracking now?
Yeah, so I mean, we tend to keep our fingers on the pulse of the news when it comes to the Medicare market, and I think a few things that are going on that are pretty important right now. One of which being that, the federal government is starting to take a watchful eye on how Medicare Advantage plans operate when it comes to the pre-authorization process for your bigger ticket items that you're going to need when it comes to your scans or your surgeries, even some medications they make you go through, like some step therapies and so forth. So the government is starting to take a watchful eye, which Medicare Advantage is one of the types of plans that you can pick to back up what Medicare doesn't cover. The other being Medicare Supplement, and we work in both arenas. But why we're watching it with the Medicare Advantage is because actually more than half of Medicare beneficiaries by the end of this year, from a nationwide perspective, are going to be on Medicare Advantage plans. And locally speaking, here in Pittsburgh and the surrounding counties, it's actually a much higher rate that people are on Medicare Advantage plans. So, when you're talking about somebody who needs a surgery that's life sustaining, or, a heart procedure, or even a hip and knee, whatever it might be, to, get you back to your A game, a lot of times these Medicare Advantage companies put a lot of steps in place to make sure you really need this procedure done because it's a higher costing item. It's a way to cost management, right? Well, along the way, you're going to pay a lot of money in copays and so forth in order to make sure you truly need this. And what the government really wants to do is shorten that process along, because the quicker you get back to your A game, the happier you're going to be in the plan, the healthier you're going to be long term. So to
Yeah.
watch this finally taken fold, you know, this is one of the benefits of working in the Medicare industry, is to be able to keep your fingers on the pulse of that and put it in the consumer, so that if you do get a denial, we can tell you how to appeal that, because 82% of the time when people did appeal in 2022, it was overturned.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big number.
It is a big number. And the thing of it is there is a big migration to the Advantage plans,
For
right?
sure.
Because of low premium, inclusion of benefits, meaning you don't just get your A and B, your hospital, your outpatient services, but you can get dental, vision, hearing,
Hmm.
right? So, and you get affordable copay. So there's a lot of things that are attractive about it. But the two things where maybe that's not so attractive is this pre-authorization process, right? Where now it's more managed care, right? Where if you go with a supplement, it's more wide open. Medicare
Yeah.
has a list of approved things. If you need it done and your doctor says orders it, you pretty much get it done, right? There's not a lot of hoops to jump through, if you will. And then also the customer service aspect on these Advantage plans can also be a point of frustration for people, right? So again, we hear people say sometimes this is the best way to go or this is the only way to go. And it's just not that simple. And I'm glad to see that Medicare, although there's a great growth, they're trying to also improve some of the areas where there can be frustration on the consumer's part when it comes to Advantage plans.
And speaking about Medicare Advantage, again, the majority of Medicare beneficiaries here in southwestern Pennsylvania are on these types of plans. What we're kind of seeing is a major shift over the last 5 years. I mean, we're talking a 6-point shift over the entire nation, people that are migrating over to Medicare Advantage from Medicare Supplement. And, a few of the reasons that people kind of look at that is because of the fact that Medicare supplements traditionally get a little bit more expensive as we get older. We're all well aware of that. The reason that people are moving over to Medicare Advantage plans more so is because of affordability aspects, because Medicare supplements typically do cost a little bit more as we age. And as you talked about, there's extra benefits included: dental, vision, hearing, gym memberships, over the counter. The list goes on and on. And, you know, as we get older, and especially in the economy we're in now and how dollars need to stretch a little bit further, you know, we're seeing why it's attractive, but the maintenance of it, especially what you talked about just a moment ago, when it comes to, dealing with the carriers and getting the correct answer. You could call that number 5 different times on the back of your card and get 5 different answers.
Unfortunately.
That's why MediConnect kind of wants to jump in the middle of that and be your advisory force when it comes to making sure you get clear and constant answers. And if we don't have them readily available to you, we have the connections inside the insurance companies to get them for you.
For sure, for sure. So that's really one important piece, what we're really watching. Another thing is there's a lot of scams right now being run, right? And again, some of the scams are blatant, right? Some of them are veiled, right? It's kind of, it's marketing 101, right?
Yeah.
Shout it from the rooftops and then put the other stuff in fine print, right?
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
so we're seeing a lot of that in the commercials that have basically flooded the airwaves. Medicare's had to change a lot of rules because I wish everybody that did this was altruistic, right? I wish everybody had the right motives for doing this, but there are a lot of people out there that don't do due diligence. They just try to sell people a plan, right, to get them on, and you know, they veiled, blatant, but it's an issue, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, there's a lot of money in Medicare. Plain and simple. Whenever
There's a lot of money in insurance, right?
Yeah, and whenever there's a lot of money involved, sometimes people don't always play by the rules and work in your best interest. So, last year, as a result of what happened with all these actors and famous athletes from yesteryear talking Medicare on the TV airwaves, Medicare had to put a ruling out there to make it so that firms like ours, you know, we had to say this disclaimer to say that we don't work with all of the plans. If you need an education, call 1-800-Medicare.
Right.
Well, here's the scam in how it's working now. So Medicare is so overwhelmed. They don't have enough employees, as we well know. And of course, you'll sit on the phone for 45 minutes waiting to talk to somebody. Then you leave a message. Well, somehow these calls are getting intercepted, and then these scammers are starting to spoof the number where when they call you back, it says 1-800-Medicare on your caller ID. Then they start asking for information on your red, white, and blue Medicare card.
Right.
And because it says Medicare on the caller ID, of course you give it to them.
Right.
Well, now they start, they go after your identity. They, because there's a lot of information you're able to access beyond your Medicare identification number. Not only that, but they're also going to start filing false claims, which has an effect on anybody who's on Medicare. We're talking costs are going to go up to cover the fraud that's going on,
right,
unbeknownst to the person who's just picking up the phones because they see 1-800-Medicare on the caller ID.
Yeah, and the thing of it is people are getting so good at this stuff, right? We would think it's never going to happen to me. I would never fall for it, but I mean, there's. I wish we were as smart as the people who like to take advantage of people sometimes, right? So really trying to get ahead of it. Good rule of thumb if you're listening, you may already know this, but it bears repeating, right? Unless you call them directly at a known number, you should never give this personal information out, whether it's Medicare, Social Security, anything like that. Don't put yourself in a position to get taken advantage of, because it's not just what happens in the moment. It screws up your ability maybe to go to the doctor you want to see. You may have co-pays that you didn't expect, right? We want to make sure that everyone is protected. That's why we want you to call us. How can people contact us, Sean?
Yeah, so you could get in touch with us at 888-818-6334. Go to MediConnectInsurance.com, or you can find us on Facebook at MediConnect PGH, all one word. Lots of awesome content. Wherever you can find us, we want to be your advisory group. And again, completely free of cost to make sure this process is easy and clean for you.
Absolutely. And in coming shows, we're going to give more specific information on Medicare and other things like that. It's going to be great.
Can't wait for it.
Yeah.